Good day, community. And this is Nadia Tetramensa. I am the founder of Eczema Skincare. And for this National Eczema Awareness Month, we are delving into conversations with people who've chosen to do natural skincare routines or natural skincare products to basically help them heal their eczema. I always say I am an example of this. I was using steroid creams that were prescribed by my doctor. After about 12 years, my doctor said, you know what, you're going to have to try anything over the counter and see if it would work. I tried it, it wasn't working. My skin was getting agitated. I was feeling hopeless, I tell you, until I started using unrefined shea butter from Ghana. And it was a life changer for me. It literally was able to get rid of all of my eczema on my body and all of my joints and everything else. And then as I've continued through my adult life, anytime I get a stress flare up or anything like that, I continue to use Enzema Apollo, unrefined raw shea butter on my skin. If I have to apply it 3 or 4 times a day, I will do so. And it really does show results. So this month, I am interviewing people who've also used other natural skincare products that have been effective, whether it's for them or for their family members, just to give you that insight and to also encourage you to feel good in your skin. Today, we have a really good friend of mine. Her name is Selase. Selase, are you with us?
I am. Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You're glowing.
Thank you.
So Selase, you are a naturalist. I think I didn't
100%.
even realize how much of a naturalist you were before, like, we started talking about these things. And I'm like, girl, this girl's gone with natural. Like, you do everything natural. Tell
I
me a little
believe
bit,
in it 100%.
tell me a little bit how you got onto the whole natural idea before we get onto how treating eczema. What is your philosophy when it comes to natural?
Um, well, I mean, God has given us a lot of things to use. I mean, I've never really been someone that's been pro pharmaceutical. And I think really my transition into the natural use of things was when I moved back to Ghana, when I moved back home. In the US, I used a lot of over-the-counter, facial products and stuff like that, to do the work that I was doing. But then when I came to Ghana, a lot of those products were not available. That's one thing that helped that transition. But a lot of the products weren't available. And I thought to myself, even those that were really high priced, a lot more expensive than even what I remember them to be in the US. So
Sure.
I thought to myself, well, there's got to be like other alternatives that I can use to still maintain my skin, without having to invest in all of this stuff. I think I just hit that point in my journey where I was like, let's experiment, let's try other stuff. And
Sure.
luckily, I think around the time that I made that decision, I came across people that were also not like they were holistic naturalists, I should say. So there was a lot of conversations that also happened about what they were doing and stuff like that. So I decided, okay, let me try it out. So I think the first thing that I used was the black soap, and which is synonymous to Ghana.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that our people don't use black soap enough because it takes care of so many skin ailments in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah.
Just the use of it takes care of so many, like you're not even conscious of it unless you had something wrong. And I
Yeah.
think that's where it gets people, because unless you can like intentionally use the product to take care of a skin ailment,
Sure.
you don't actually know the power that it has.
Sure.
So I started off with black soap, and then from black soap I went into aloe vera.
Oh, okay. Sorry, do you
Yes.
mind me asking what your skin type is?
So I'm naturally a combination of oily
Okay.
and dry.
Okay.
But this is before, like when I was in the US, and you have the climate changes, so you have the summer,
Sure.
spring, fall. Exactly. So your skin changes throughout those seasons in general.
Sure.
So from what I knew at the time, I had a combination skin. But since I came to Ghana, a combination of our humidity, the sun, constant sun. Since I've been in Ghana, it's been mostly oily, I have
Okay.
to say. So I think
Okay.
that's helped me maintain, like, less wrinkles, Like my skin is just works better in this environment.
Do you know, I'm sure there's people watching like less wrinkles, please. Like, how old is she that she's talking about less wrinkles?
Don't ask a question either.
I won't ask the question, but for the audience, she's not that old,
Yeah.
or she's not that mature that she should have wrinkles. Don't mind her. But go ahead. So you started off with the black soap, then you went into aloe vera.
Yeah, so I went into aloe vera. Aloe vera, aloe vera has different species, and I had two species of them. One that was it's a lot smaller, but it's very lubricated, So I started using that for my skin. And then I would wash it off, and I was like, well, why don't I keep it on? Like, what would hurt in doing that? So I would apply the aloe vera raw as it is after, like, washing my face. I would put it on, and it gave me like a natural glow, and it took care of little blemishes and stuff.
Brilliant.
So yeah, it took care of blemishes. But I have to say that, so this is my single life, right? When I had my son, okay, I had my son, and he had allergies. So in his, the first year of his life, he had a lot of allergies.
Where was he born? Was he born in the US, or
he was born in Ghana?
Okay.
He was born in Ghana, yeah. So he had a lot of allergies. And at the time, when they're babies, they can't diagnose the child as being asthmatic, even if they have certain symptoms of it, right?
Sure.
So I realized that, like, in the first 2-3 months, he had a lot of, rashes.
Okay, like rosacea. Okay.
Rosacea, yeah. And when I would ask the doctors about it, they just said, oh, it's just childhood rashes, like the kids get them. I was like, that doesn't really make sense.
Sure.
So I looked at it and I was like, there's got to be a solution to this, because it made his face look like really pale, like wherever it made his skin very pale. So one day I went to a friend's place who is a naturalist as well. He actually, at the time he was, into baobab oil.
Okay, yeah.
So he had his first, like, they had gone through the process, and he had his first container of baobab, and happened to be at his house. He's like, hey, look, you want to try this oil out? I was like, yeah, why not? So I took the oil, put it on myself. I was like, my intuition said to me, put it on my son, right? So I said, okay, let me just put it on my son's face. I put a little bit, rubbed it on the areas that he had the problems, didn't think anything of it, got home. So stayed at his house, at my friend's house, for like another hour, went home. And by the time I got home, so I would say this was probably a span of like an hour, 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours. By the time I got home to feed my son, I looked at him, I was like, wait a minute. Literally, it was gone.
Wow.
Gone. The cheeks were the main places. By the time I got home, I looked at him, I was like, this thing is gone. Like, there was the paleness because of the, it had been there for some time.
Sure.
But the actual lesions were gone. The rashes were gone for the first time. I called my friend. I was like, did you know that baobab oil does this? He was like, well, I know it's powerful, but I didn't know that exactly. I was like, my son's skin is cleared right now. Like, this is the first time in the first 4 months of his life that he's had clear skin. So I continued using it until today. My son's 11 years old. I wish I could show you pictures. His skin is flawless.
Wow, that's brilliant. Brilliant. So as he was growing, did the eczema present itself again, or was it just on his face? Wow, that's amazing.
So once I used it, I think I used it for the first year of his life. Oh no, let me say it was probably for the first 3 years. It was just baobab oil on his face and his body. But after, I think, year 3, year 4, I stopped, and he's never had any issues since.
Okay, brilliant. And so what do you use on him at the moment?
Shea butter.
Shea butter, great. So he's got has he got a dry skin profile?
He doesn't. He's it's like mine. It's oily. It's like, so there's a natural glow. Skin is perfect. There's no issues.
Oh, brilliant.
Brilliant. But he has an oily skin tone. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Because the reason why I asked is typically for us at Enzima Apollo, we would say that if you've got like extra dry to dry skin, shea butter is good because it's a heavy butter.
It is a
And
heavy
it can, if you've not got dry or extra dry skin, it doesn't feel like it absorbs into the skin as well. That's what some people have said. So what have you ever tried cocoa butter before?
I haven't tried coconut butter only because, like, shea butter has always been good for me now. But, even though I have a naturally oily skin, I think when I use when I use shea butter,
Yeah.
I usually tend to use it right after the shower when my pores are still very open. Like it's a practice for me, like the minute I get out of the shower, I coat up, period,
Yeah.
And so for me, it absorbs in my skin immediately, like I can tell immediately. So I've never had any reason to really move on to something else. Like shea butter has done it for me. I've been happy.
It's really interesting that you mentioned about the aloe vera because when I was living in Ghana, my mum had a aloe vera tree, garden came from the roots.
Yeah.
It was huge. It was huge.
Yeah.
And I had two purposes for it. One was for my son. So he would suck his thumb all the time when he would sleep. And so I was just getting fed up with it. I was like, no, this thing has got to stop. So sometimes if he was sleeping, I'll pull his thumb out of his mouth. Then I was like, no, I've got an idea. Let me put aloe vera on his thumb. Do you know that thing is bitter? So
bitter. So bitter. I know that woke him up.
I saw he was sleeping. I saw him put it in his mouth and he was like, but then because he got used to it, after a few days, he was just sucking it with them. And I was like,
But to tell you something though, ingesting aloe vera is actually really good as well. Like it's good as a detox as well.
Well, the fact that it was natural made me feel good because anything else, if I had put a cream like a chemical-based cream on his finger, I think I would have been a bit more like, oh no, what have I done? But then what I started to do is that when he was awake, I would say, bring me your thumb, and then I'll put the aloe vera on his thumb, so that it would remind him, at least in his waking moment. But I found personally for me that when because I wanted to do all the natural stuff, right? It's not that shea butter wasn't working. So basically, I've been using shea butter now for 20 years consistently. Like if it's not broken, right? Don't try and fix it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm very happy with it. And so I thought, okay, because I saw my mum put in aloe vera on her face in the morning as part of her skincare routine. She'll break off the plant, put it on her face, eat her fruits. And so I was like, okay, let me try this as well. Girl, I broke out in a rash. And then that's when I realized, because I've got sensitive skin as well. So then that's when I realized that, okay, so aloe vera or some products are not, natural products are not for everybody. Like
for everyone.
So I've got, my skin profile is dry, sensitive, dry and sensitive. So I have to be very careful of it, even with makeup. I have to be very careful. Even with facial washes, I have to be careful. So you mentioned earlier about black soap. So the funny story about black soap is when I was younger and we were living in the UK, my mum was like, she was exhausted with this whole eczema thing for me. So she was like, listen, let's just use this. So she got me the black soap, and a black soap agitated my skin in the worst way. And I remember my dad always used to say, girl, if you were in Ghana, this thing would not be a problem, because it was alien to them. They didn't even know what it was. Like they had 3 kids prior to me, and my mom had never, and my mom had those children in Ghana. So for her, if it was ever going to happen, it would have happened in Ghana, definitely not in the UK, right? So she's like, what's all of this? But then it was, as I was getting older, then I learned that I had, they learned that I was allergic to dairy. I was allergic to dust. I'm allergic to like grass as well. I was allergic to, or I am allergic to peanuts, any kind of nut kind of family I was allergic to. But all of these different things, and Ghanaians, we love peanuts, we love our peanut butter soup. So all of those things were actually making me flare out. So anyway, so she decides that, I'm going to try this black soap. Black soap made it 1,000 times worse. Only for me to find out in my adult years is because it was perfumed.
Oh, now that makes sense.
So
That makes sense.
and that's the problem. So if like black soap is good, and what the FDA have said is actually called African black soap. We have to say African black soap.
Okay.
So it is fantastic,
Wait, I'm sorry,
antibacterial.
because is there black soap anywhere else in the world? Like,
Minimal. I don't know, like, because we called our
just
product
wondering.
black. We called our product liquid black soap, and then they came back and
Yeah.
said no, the actual term is Africa black soap, so that's what we have to use. Yes, so a little bit of rebranding needs to be done for us, but nevertheless, so then we started realizing that there were two different types of black soap, right? So for those who don't know what black soap is, it's literally raw materials like cocoa pods, shea butter. um I think it's got some ash as well inside it, like black
Yeah.
ash, that they've
Yeah.
basically concocted
All
over a
into
pot.
one.
Yeah,
Yep, yep,
and
yep.
that thing. So I found out that there's two different versions. So there's one that is with the perfume inside it, and there's one that without the perfume. And
Yeah.
so in our product range, we decided to try the liquid black soap instead of the bar, which is what what
Yeah.
everybody's used to. So all of our products, let me try it on myself first before I let everybody else try it. Girl,
Right.
this thing just cleansed, exfoliated my skin like no man's business. I was like, what? And
Man.
I had blemishes and it was working really good for me. And I was like, I
Yeah.
am sold on liquid black. I wasn't, and I was really scared because I thought I was going to get a flare up. But for the very fact that it didn't have any fragrance inside it, it was a game changer.
Yeah.
The only thing that I would say to anybody that's listening is that using black soap, it does slightly dry out the skin. If you go for the
Yeah.
fragrance one in particular, so I can guess why that would work really well for you because you've got oily skin, so that
Yeah.
is ideal. But for people
Yeah.
who've got dry skin, I would always say don't use it frequently, or even if you do, make sure that you're lavering up your skin with the shea butter or something
Exactly.
really
Like
oily.
replenish the moisture. Yeah.
Exactly, but it's such a no-brainer, right? And we're always finding that we're using these natural like we're using all of these chemical-based products, and you're seeing all these skincare routines online, and you're just like, you could just make your
It's
life
not
so much
necessary.
simple.
It's not necessary. Not necessary. But
So,
someone needs to make money, right? Like it's a business. So
of
they're gonna
course,
sell you whatever it takes to keep you coming back over and over. And that's, I think, the sadness of it. Well, I shouldn't say sadness because it's somebody's business, but you know,
yeah,
um, it doesn't serve everyone. It doesn't serve everyone. And people don't realize this.
yeah,
Um, but I think also when it comes to natural stuff, I think it's also a lot of research that you need to do, not just on the product, but on yourself. Like I think a lot of people don't know themselves enough or
yeah,
even take the time to understand what works and doesn't work for them to know that, okay, this is the reason why I should use this or that, you
yes,
know what I mean?
yes,
So it's just like, oh,
yes,
they said use, I don't know, any of those products out there, and then you're like, okay, let me use it. And I'm using it. I'm not getting results,
yes.
but I'm still using it. Like,
Yeah, no,
you know, so
definitely. I mean, it's like the current thing right now with retinol. I think I've almost got like I'm going having a war against retinoids and retinols and stuff like that, because like the idea of retinol is that it's actually a synthetic vitamin
yeah,
A, and the
yeah,
idea of retinol, it actually comes from animals, like it's produced by animals. Yeah. Whereas
okay,
we have our natural sources of vitamin A, and the best source
yeah,
for anyone that's listening, the best source for collagen and all of that fine line and wrinkles, the best thing that they could do, eat carrots, right? But
yeah,
outside of that, because carrots and things like baobab oil have got beta carotene inside it, and
yes,
beta
yes,
carotene is your natural vitamin A
yeah,
source. So,
yeah,
and I always say to people that why wouldn't you use beta carotene? Because once you apply it to your skin, it absorbs into your bloodstream as well. So you've got like a
period.
two-in-one combo going on here right now. Like, why wouldn't you
Absolutely.
think about that? And what my issue is with a lot of these products that are out, especially with retinoids or retinol, it makes people's skin purge before it gets better.
Yeah, yeah.
So my question is, why don't you just exfoliate, right? Increase, because our skin naturally exfoliates anyway, but
Mhm.
exfoliate maybe 2, 3 times a week with black soap, and then use the like the baobab oil, and then it can naturally do the work instead of you going right, instead of going through the purging process. But I wanted to bring something, I wanted to just shift something, because I know we don't have that much time. You know, for people who've got eczema, one of the key things, or any kind of like skin outbreak or flare up, like acne and stuff like that, a lot of the time it's got something to do with either allergies, it could be genetic, or it could also be your gut, your immune system, what you're eating and stuff like that. I just want to say, the other day I tried to be a naughty girl, and I was like, I'm gonna have a pie of pizza, because that's what they call it in America. They call it a pie of pizza, like a whole pizza to myself. And I ate 2 slices and I'm like, yeah, I'm done. The next day, the next day I had pimple here, pimple there, hardcore pimples, and I'm not eating it. But I was grateful for the experience, because I was like, I know I've been lactose intolerant. I know it's got worse as I've got older, but I never realized how immediate it was. Like, you've eaten cheese, here you go. I'm giving this to you. I'm blessing you as well. So you are a healthy eater though, right? So tell us a little bit about how you look after yourself. Because I heard you say to your son, oh, do you want some moringa tea?
I mean, like I said, like natural way of living for me just works naturally. It just works for me. I'm not, I mean, I've never really been that big of a like food consumer. If you guys can see me, I'm kind of like, I'm like olive oil. They used to call me olive oil when I was a kid, you know, Popeye's like wife. Yeah, so for you, the audience, if you want to know what I sort of look like, I'm like olive oil.
Yeah, like, literally, before we started the interview, we were talking, and I told her that I'm literally 2 of her bodies. So that's how slim she is.
It's 1.5. It's 1.5. It's 1.5. It's not that dramatic.
But yeah,
but yeah, so I've never really been that big of an eater. I love food, but I think I've really just tuned in with myself, so that when I feel the need to eat something, I'll eat. But anyway, the kind of foods, like I like teas a lot, like herbal teas. I do a lot of herbal teas, but they're seasonal. You know, I don't stick to one thing all the time. Like, our bodies are constantly changing. We have our stress levels. We go through different periods. And so for me, I've really been in tune and in line with how I feel. So whenever I have this thought of, okay, why don't you do like a turmeric, ginger, you know, black pepper tea, or why don't you do a moringa tea, or why don't you do like an Asian fruit, you know, tea. I have different ones. They all have their different, you know, properties to them and what they do for your body. So this is all I do. Like, and every 3 months, maybe every 4 months, I'll do like a major detox. So like I mentioned aloe vera. So there's different species. So I have one that I use for my skin, which lubricates well. And then I have another one that's really for internal. So once in a while, I'll do like a complete detox, you know, internal detox, where I'll do the aloe vera with like lemon and some other stuff, and then drink that, you know, for a few days. And fruits, I'm big on fruits as well. So just naturally, I think my body has followed that rhythm of like just natural eating, and just, you know,
but to be clear,
way of being, and it's just worked for me.
Sorry, do you have any kind of junk food? Because whenever I listen to these things, I'm like, yeah, but so is that all you do all your life? Or like, do you eat like other food? Do you eat rice, for example? Do you eat pasta?
Yeah. Okay, I do. So I do, but I mostly, I mean, we have cheat days. I mean, I lived in the US, so I won't lie, like that place influenced a lot of things. There are burgers and pizzas and stuff. Luckily, because we don't have that many burger joints, okay, we do, but not like what it would be out there. So I naturally don't eat that.
What
but
are
like
you saying?
pizza.
There are burgers. Listen, let's get the narrative.
We have burgers in Ghana.
There are many burger joints.
Many burgers in Ghana, but I'm just saying, like, from what I'm used to, like the quality of burgers from the US, you know how the US likes to overdo things, you know? So like when you're from that environment into Ghana, it's like, whoa, this doesn't taste the same. But you realize that what you were tasting before was so much more toxic. You know, and that was a lot of my transition as well. Like there was a lot of toxic foods that I had to like unlearn within myself. So I do have cheat days, but mostly I eat a lot of the Ghanaian foods, which I think are very healthy in itself.
Sure.
You know, our greens, like, you know, contumely, which is kind of like in the family of spinach.
Yeah.
High in iron, you know, this is a meal that we make. Rice, definitely I'll eat rice, but not that often. Maybe in a week we have rice like once, maybe twice.
Sure.
You know, plantain, which is high in iron. So I'm very conscious about what we eat. And the funny thing is, like, people have said I'm vegan, you know, in a way. I don't eat meat, I don't eat meat, to be honest. Chicken, beef, pork. I kind of eliminated all those things from my diet, my son and I. And actually I did that because of my son as well, because of the asthma. Though we transitioned out of the facial, he still had a lot of attacks. So I did a cleanse with him when he was around 5 years old, 6 years old. And then after the cleanse, we went full vegan for about 4 years, and it cleared his asthma. Like, the attacks that he had completely went away. So I am a testimony to eating naturally or living a natural life. Like, it's worked for my entire being, you know, from facial to inner, and honestly, spiritually as well, it ties in as well. I mean, it gives you a sense of clarity in a lot of things. It helps you connect with yourself and stuff. And yeah, it's just worked for me. I mean, I love my life, so I don't know.
I love the way you said that. I love my life.
Like, I figured out what works for me, you know.
Yeah, and that's what's really important. I love that.
Figured out what works for me, and I'm a testimony. Like, I often tell people, like, when someone's has bad skin, I'm just like, ooh, you know, and they're like, yeah, do this. I'm like, ooh, I can give you other things that you could do that will really solve your problem, you know. And some people listen, some people don't, but
exactly. I think that's one of the things that I've started to realize now when it comes to the educating and the conversion stage of any kind of customer. I mean, the skincare industry is huge. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, right? And for as long as you've got the L'Oreals and the Unilevers that have got a budget to be able to throw things into your face and make it look all glossy, and, you know, hire all of these content creators and celebrities to basically endorse their product, you know, the masses are sold. And so I'm looking at it from my point of view, and I'm like, okay, this is really interesting. And the thing is, a lot of the things that these products push out, it's always science-based, right? So it's science-based, but our products, they don't science test these products, right? And what we have is that, okay, we might not say science, but we could say research. Because what we do know from our ancestors, whether it's in India, China, or within the African continent, we know that these things work because
they work.
That's what
they work.
These are old. Exactly,
centuries.
these are old medicinal things that they were using back in the day. And it's just that as life, like the world has evolved and consumerism has kicked in, they don't want to put these things in front of people because it's not making them money. So it's like, you know, but the worst part about it is that, I mean, look at the cosmetic industry. Shea butter is one of the largest base products in most of these
but they never say it.
Exactly, but then
they hardly ever make mention of it.
But the issue is that the efficacy of the shea butter gets reduced when you start loading it with chemicals. So that becomes, you know, part of the problem. So, you know, when people, I speak to people and I'm like, our ingredients are literally one ingredient because that's all you need. You really don't need, even if you do want to have more than one, add baobab oil to your shea butter, add coconut oil to your shea butter.
Exactly. Let it be within the realm of being natural. Exactly. Exactly.
So,
exactly. Yeah, and to also touch base and to add to what you said previously about you know, the detoxing from the body. When your body is used to, and I went through this when I started the natural part, you know, I did break out and stuff, and I did get a little bit scared, but I was like, no, just keep on with it. Your body will exfoliate, or it will purge out years of toxic chemicals that you've put in your body. Like you rightfully said, our skin is our pores. Whether you're conscious or not conscious, it doesn't stop things from entering. It's gonna enter regardless, you know, even with our clothes and anything that we wear. So when you think back on that, or when you think about that, when you do start a new process, you know, and just to encourage anyone new to natural, using natural substances and stuff like that, give it some time.
Yeah, definitely.
Because whatever you see as a breakout is not actually hurting you, it's actually purging from all the toxic chemicals that you've used on your skin over the years and stuff. So give it some time.
Yeah.
And I think even after beyond that, again, there's a lot of trial and error. Like you rightfully said, different skin types will probably adjust to different, different natural forms. But to think that natural use of products doesn't work for you, I think is not a true statement for anybody, period.
Anybody, I like that.
For anybody, like it's not for some people, for anybody, because it is for everyone.
It's for everybody. I love that. I always say that it's a kiss from nature, like it's a God's gift to us. One of my friends said that, oh, I've been using jojoba oil, and I was like, okay, how's it going? Oh, well, I changed it after 3 weeks, and I was like, keep it going. Yeah, I was just like, you just don't stop. You have to keep on using it and being very consistent. And I always say to people that, to be honest with you, if you choose to go natural, cut out everything else. Just let that one product, because you're not going to know what's working for you if you keep mixing it with other things. So just cut it out and keep it simple. But I think people, like, we've become so complicated with everything. People find it hard to say.
Like fast results.
Yeah.
But you know what, and just to add to what you're saying about that, it takes 21 to 30 days for the body to adjust or to change a certain way of being. If you're accustomed to being a certain way and you want to transition into a new being, it takes you 21 to 30 days to do that. That's not just a mental thing, it's a complete overall physical thing. So even when it comes to trying new products, you need to give it at least that 21 to 30-day period to see how it really generally works for you. Like you said, cut out everything else if you really want to know if that is it or not it for you. Cut out everything else and give it that chance,
Yeah, exactly. So lastly, it's been such a pleasure having this conversation with you. I know we've been talking about doing this, so this is one of two podcasts that we need to do that I'm glad that we were able to get done. So I do appreciate your time. Do you have any final words before we close out on our Feel Good podcast?
Absolutely, guys. Eczema Polo, we've been going back and forth about this or talking about it, but I do have some products from Eczema Polo, and it's great. And to be honest with you, when it comes to natural products, there's no such thing as it's not for me. Try it out, give it a chance. You may need to try different ones. Eczema Polo has a great range. I mean, literally has everything that we use in this part of the country or in this part of the world. So try it out, give it a shot, give it a chance. There's no such thing as it can't work. Give it a chance. Eczema Polo is one of the brands that I personally love. And so I'm encouraging all of you, try it out, give it a chance, and you won't regret it. There's no way. You won't regret it.
And I didn't pay you for that. I should put a disclaimer.
No, you did not.
I'm going to make sure when we're editing, I'm just going to do a disclaimer rolling across the screen. This is not a paid advertisement. So lastly, thank you so much for your time, and to the Feel Good community, I really hope this has edified you guys. I hope you've been able to learn a little bit more about the natural process, and it doesn't stop at your skin. It also extends to the whole of you. I found that when I start going natural, I feel so much lighter in my body as well. So really get on that natural journey. Let it just be one less thing in your life that you have to worry about. Guys, we love you, and we pray that you're feeling good in your skin. Take care for today.